if you haven't picked up the anthology, mine just arrived and it looks beautiful. So I hope you pick it up. It's incredible. And I said something in the intro here, and I feel it so strongly now, is that I've never felt such hope in a time of darkness. And it's just a testament to these writers and their words. So I really hope you pick this one up. And our first reader is Grace Chung Lee. Born stateless in Seoul and raised on 4 continents, Grace Chung Lee is working on a novel and an essay collection. Fragmented identities, memory, intergenerational trauma, and home are central themes in her writing. Her writing has been supported by Vona, Kundiman, Yado, Breadloaf, Hedgebrook, the Jerome Foundation, the Brooklyn Arts Council, and like 10 other places. She is the managing editor of Guernica and the creative nonfiction and health editor at Hyphen. Welcome, Grace.
Hi, thank you so much, EJ, for the introduction. I just wanted to thank EJ and Levi, Joel, Alyssa, and all of the Jack Straw staff who've been really amazing, as well as all of my fellows in my cohort. Thank you. So I'm going to read from an essay. Before I learned to write my name, my mother dragged me to salons for perms. She had manicures done on my tiny nails and outfitted me in frilly dresses. You can never erase the first impression was my mother's mantra. According to my mother, it was my duty to look beautiful. We moved constantly and lived in areas where we were among the few Koreans. It didn't matter if we were broke, we had to ensure we always embodied elegance. Otherwise, Americans would take note, and I would reflect poorly on Koreans all over the world. Whenever someone complimented my physique, my mother beamed as though she had won gold. She didn't seem impressed that I'd been awarded Best English Student, as long as I maintained my reign as tallest girl at Korean church. I prayed to God every day you'd turn out tall and thin like your father, she smiled. My mother begged me to get plastic surgery to enlarge my eyes, wailed when I refused to follow up after being approached by a casting director for an Overa ad, protested when I pulled out of a haute couture runway show I was scouted for, sobbed when I came home for Christmas with my lip pierced. She pled with me to please change my resistance toward beauty so that I could attract a good husband. The more beauty tips she offered, and the more she begged me to dress fashionably, the more I rebelled. While girls were memorizing makeup tips from 17, I preferred reading ethnographies or novels. My mother shrieked when I assembled care packages for homeless women with the makeup samples that she gave me. I washed my face with bar soap, and my mother gasped at my savage behavior. My mother left voicemails telling me to wear a hat so my face wouldn't tan, to wear lipstick to class in case I encountered a single doctor. I regretted mentioning that my graduate program was housed in the same building as a medical school, and always smile in public. She wasn't just projecting on me either. My mother's commitment to beauty rivaled that of a beauty contestant. She meticulously cared for her skin, routinely applying creams, cucumber treatments, and facial massages. As a feminist and a Seven Sisters graduate, I was convinced that beauty products were surely invented to keep women down and broke. I didn't want to waste my life cooking and cleaning for a man. I dreamt of becoming a veterinarian and saving lives, or becoming a professor where I could spend endless hours reading and writing. After college, I decided to apply to teach English in Korea and learned that it was a common requirement to attach one's photo to a resume. Baffled, I couldn't believe that this was legal. My mother repeated, "You are always judged by your appearance." It wasn't until adulthood that I began to understand my mother's obsession with beauty. She began to share memories, how she had witnessed North Korean soldiers holding guns to her mother's head, forcing her to cook her meager food supply for them while her family starved. How, when the Korean War began when she was 7, she walked for days with her family from their home in North Korea to the south to escape the escalating violence. with nothing but the clothes they wore. How she and her family slept on the floor of a church for months, not knowing when their next meal would be. Unable to ever return home again, my mother's family settled in South Korea. On the day my mother graduated from nursing school, she walked into a hospital to seek work. Despite her limited wardrobe, she maximized her assets, carefully applying her makeup, selecting an outfit that accentuated her curvaceous figure, extraordinary amid South Korea's waifish bodies. The doctor took one look at me and said, "You're hired," she said. After hearing her story, I often thought of my mother's mantra. In South Korea's ultra-competitive image-obsessed society, beauty was a physical marker of one's commitment to success. Beauty was a weapon that could be deployed to fight patriarchy, a source of power for getting ahead despite patriarchal consents that limited options for women. As the head nurse of an operating room in South Korea, my mother went from having nothing to living her best life. She commissioned custom design outfits for her curvy figure, ensuring she always looked impeccable. For my mother, beauty meant empowerment and independence. After immigrating to the US and losing her career and independence, beauty was the one thing that my mother could maintain. No matter how hard things became, she got out of bed every morning and performed her beauty regimen with precision. Growing up, everything I associated with beauty had negative connotations: vanity, sexism, superficiality. Beauty meant surrendering to patriarchal standards, I thought. While experiencing severe depression after returning from working at a peacekeeping mission, I heard my mother's voice in my head, cheerleading with the battle cry favored by Korean mothers, "Fighting!" I dragged myself out of bed, carefully applied lip gloss, put on a cute outfit, and suddenly gained enough energy to leave my apartment. I thought of my mother and finally understood how her obsession with beauty kept her alive through dark days. Beauty wasn't just a performance for the benefit of the outside world. On a recent trip home, I caught my septuagenarian mother sitting at the dining table with downturned lips, staring into her handheld mirror. "How does your mother look?" she asked. "Beautiful," I said, and watched her face light up. Thank you.
Grace, when I was listening to you, I couldn't help but think about how in Korean the word for pretty, yepo, means so many things. Like that's what we say when someone's good or when someone's smart. It's the beauty has such another place in Korean history, and I feel like you've really shown that. And I say that as a fellow tallest girl at church growing up. So we both hold that title. Thank you, Grace. Our next reader is Daniel. Have Daniel coming up soon. So Daniel Tam Claiborne is the author of What Never Leaves and a contributor to the literary anthology While We're Here. His writing has appeared or is forthcoming in Literary Hub, The Huffington Post, Kitchen Work, the Shanghai Literary Review, and lots of other places. He has received honors and scholarships from the US Fulbright Program, the New York State Summer Writers Institute, Kundiman, and the Yiddish Book Center. He holds degrees from Oberlin College, Yale University, and the Program for Writers at Warren Wilson College. A Fulbright research scholar based in Taiwan, Daniel is currently writing a novel about identity, migration, and belonging set against the backdrop of contemporary US-China relations. Thanks for reading for us.
Thanks so much for that warm introduction, EJ. And thank you, Levi and Joel and the whole team at Jackstraw for making this night possible. I also want to thank my fabulous cohort for providing community and motivation over these last several lonely months, my roommate Kimmy for lending me this microphone, and for all of you out there listening. It means so much to be able to share these words with you. So thank you. I'll be reading a short excerpt tonight. I guess I shouldn't say tonight. It's technically 10 a.m. here in Taiwan, but I'll be reading a short excerpt from Transplants, my novel in progress. This section is from about 2/3 of the way through. But really all you need to know is that Lin was born and raised in a small town called Tixian in rural northern China. She befriends a woman named Liz, who is a Chinese-American recent college grad who taught English in that same small town. And as a result, gets the opportunity to enroll in a community college in Ohio. It's late March 2020, and Lin and one of her classmates at the community college named Selena, another Chinese national, are driving west after their school shuts down as a result of the pandemic. So here we go. Sunset again, normally a time for deadlocked traffic, but the highway was sparse. Lin was behind the wheel, going 80, just barely above the speed limit. The radio was off, and Selena was asleep in the passenger seat, the silence in the car punctuated only by the dull rumbling over a rough patch of asphalt or the lopsided heap of belongings in the backseat, trying vainly to find peace. Lin had insisted on a no-news policy ever since they left Ohio. There was so much going on that it was making her head spin. She couldn't decide which was worse, the situation back home, rising death toll, panic in the hospitals, or the way it was all talked about here, mismanagement, pointing fingers, denial. Even if she still didn't exactly enjoy driving, Lin was starting to get more comfortable in the driver's seat. With all her attention focused on staying alive, she could block everything else out. In the car, the miles seemed to retreat faster as they burned through the state. Lin wasn't sure if they were making fewer stops, if there was just less worth seeing. Still, Lin was worried they might never get to Yellowstone. She felt more and more like they were hurtling toward enemy territory. Over the last several days, she noticed a steady rise in red, white, and blue banners that blanketed highway overpasses and dwarfed roadside farmhouses. But even more troubling was the frequency of billboards bearing a different flag, crossed with blue stripes and studded with 13 stars like sharp points of barbed wire. Lin knew just how much she and Selena stuck out. But how much was her foreignness obvious to everyone else? Nothing had happened exactly, but there was still something off-putting about the way people had been looking at her, the glare she got whenever she moved or sneezed or brought a hand to her mouth, like they were itching to pick a fight. The town they stopped in at night to eat was small and unimpressive, about as scenic as the Cuyahoga outpost they'd fled. They got out of the car, and Lin noticed a sign that was strung between two trees, "Welcome to Deadwood." There were 2 rifle barrels overlaid on top of the words in the shape of an X, and next to it, the bare skull of an ox. Lin pushed down a lump in her throat. "This was the best you could do?" Selena asked, rubbing sleep from her eyes. The street was quiet, and cold enough that Lin zipped her purple windbreaker under her coat. She felt the condensation of her breath gather inside her mask. Hotels were showing no vacancy signs in their windows, and Lin immediately wondered if the neon glow was meant only for her and Selena's kind, a pox against foreign-born. A shop called Miss Kitty's had its doors locked, but through the window Lin could see decorations brandishing those same wrong flags, shirts with a slash over the outline of China, the countenance of an Indian man named Zoltar encased in glass, the price that came with being of somewhere else. Light was emanating from a single bar and restaurant. Its square plexiglass windows were covered in Budweiser decals, and a large inflatable whiskey bottle was strapped to the roof, like the nativity displays Lin had seen in Cleveland after Christmas. Just outside the restaurant, near where they stood, was a glut of half a dozen motorcycles, each more than twice the size of the delivery bikes Lin was used to seeing in Xixian. It was as if these bikes had somehow evolved to be bigger, taller seat, louder engine, wider handlebars, capable of swallowing those Chinese motorbikes whole. "I'm not going in," Lin said, when she and Selena were facing the door. "You said it yourself," Selena said. "It's the only place that's open." "Well, I'm not hungry," Lin said, though the rumbling of her stomach gave her away. She'd only had a stick of dried beef and a bag of M&Ms all day. Selena peered at the doors, so dense with bumper stickers that it was hard to tell what was inside, and then turned back to look at Lin. "What are you afraid of?" But Lin just shook her head, and Selena, with a huff, moved in front of her. "Take off your mask," Lin shouted, grabbing her arm. Selena pushed her away, annoyed. "What are you saying?" "It makes us a target," Lin said, pointing to her own face. Ironic that the equipment meant to protect them only made them more vulnerable to attack. Selena brushed her off. "In China, we're chastised for not wearing a mask. We think you're being selfish." She paused and looked at Lin again. Or have you just been away too long? We're not in China, Lynn snapped back. We have a right to be selfish. But she realized then it wasn't the mask that people had been looking at. It was her eyes, her skin, her hair, things that she was born with, much harder to conceal or explain away. This hasn't changed anything, Selena said. We were a target before this, and we will be one after this passes, too. She pulled open the metal handles of the double doors, leaving Lynn out on the street alone. A cold wind blew down the empty block, and Lynn shivered in spite of herself. She felt guilty for letting Selena go in alone, and she dreaded to imagine if something happened to her while she'd been cowering outside the whole time. The walls of the restaurant are covered in expired license plates. The bathrooms are labeled cowboys and cowgirls, and there are plastic trout dangling from the light fixtures. Everyone is white, single men, biker couples, families. The waitstaff is clad in white blouses and pencil skirts. Hanging up are bull skulls, bleached photos of ranch hands, a neon Bud Light sign with a blonde country singer holding a lasso. Selena goes up to the counter and orders 2 burgers, fries, sodas. It's the most basic order, so simple that nothing can go wrong, but the waiter mishears, or pretends to mishear, makes some joke at Selena's expense. It's harmless enough, what at a different time might have simply been ignored, but too much has changed, and someone needs to pay. A disagreement ensues. Selena, in her takeout English, is quick to talk back. The waiter motions to the kitchen, and a group of other staff suddenly appear, wearing studded leather jackets, bare heads tied with bandanas. The biggest, meanest one has a gravelly voice and smells like ash. I'll explain in language she might understand. He brandishes a few of his teeth. There's an altercation. They all pile on. There are customers in the restaurant, enough to do something to stop it. But, like Lynn, no one does. All set, Selena said, as she walked past Lynn, 2 bags in her hand. They were heading back toward the car. The only light was from the headlamp of a motorcycle parking across the street. Lynn was quiet, her body still buzzing. What did they say? She asked, finally. They asked me if I wanted ketchup, Selena said. I hate ketchup, so I said, no, we won't have any. She turned back toward Lynn. I hope that's okay. Lynn couldn't explain what she was feeling. She didn't think it was normal to have this strange discomfort, this creeping paranoia. It wasn't being the target of hate as much as it was the anticipation of it. It became a survival instinct to curl herself inward, small enough that there was no surface area left to attack. Lynn wanted to believe in that most quintessential thing about America, that everyone was entitled to their own beliefs. She couldn't blame people for wanting to keep things the way they were, for turning away the outsiders, the people who came in with their own unfounded opinions about a country they barely understood. It was a country founded on aggression, where in order to be right, someone else had to be wrong. But thinking about the people who lived there, who had to endure that sense of injustice on a daily basis, made Lynn feel like her grief was small and petty by comparison. Lynn walked back to the car gingerly, the ground like a pane of glass she had to prevent from shattering. Liz had told her that homesickness was for people who couldn't assimilate. It was only when you don't feel like you fit in that you start to miss the things that are familiar. No matter what she was experiencing, Lynn knew one thing for sure, that no one could relate to it more than Liz. To be accepted and not by your own kind, never truly knowing where you belong. With the 2 countries jockeying over her loyalties, Lynn wondered what it would be like not to pick either side. She embraced her foreigner status, a person who belonged nowhere. Once inside the car, Selena started the engine, and heat gushed out of the vents. They ate their burgers in silence, curly fries, a straw-lodged sip of Coke. It tasted like every trip to KFC in Xixian, and every fast food drive-thru she'd stopped at since she'd been in America. It tasted like nothing, and exactly like home. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Daniel. Oh, I feel so sad right now listening to it. I just ordering the food, that is just so brilliant because I've done that before. I've ordered something on a menu because I'm worried about what, people on the other side will say about, if I pronounce it wrong or what it says about me, or I'm constantly avoiding trouble. Wow. And how the way you talk about nationalism and the effect of that on foreign born, and even that phrase foreign born, I hear it all the time. So thank you and congratulations on so many wonderful things. Our next reader is Michael Overa. Yay, I'm so excited to introduce you. Michael Overa was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. An erstwhile bartender, Michael completed his MFA at Hollins University in Virginia before returning to Seattle. After working as a writer in residence with Seattle's Writer in the Schools program for 5 years, Michael transitioned to teaching composition at Shoreline Community College and Edmonds College. As a short story writer, Michael has published over 30 short stories and 2 collections of short stories. This Endless Road and the Filled-in Spaces by Unsolicited Press. He is currently at work on his first novel, No Way Home. His stories have been published in the Portland Review, the Heartland Review, Cross Currents, and East Bay Review, among many, many others. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you so much, EJ. Hello, everyone. As many of the other writers have mentioned, it's really, really humbling to be here. I want to thank EJ, curator extraordinaire and badass. Thanks Levi, Alyssa, Tom, all of the Jackstraw folks that make this run so incredibly smoothly and flawlessly. Shout out to the writers in the schools program, Shoreline Community College, fellow writers. It's really been surreal to be a part of this group, and not just because we're kind of all online, but also because of the caliber of the writers in this program and the legacy of Jackstraw writers past, present, and future. So today I'm going to read a handful of pages from my novel in progress, No Way Home, which is in the anthology. But like most of the writers, I think I've been just constantly tinkering with this to try and keep up with everybody else in the program. Mukilteo, Washington, October 5th, 1990. The truck idles, shivering the rearview mirror. It had taken several attempts to get his eyeliner right, blinking and squinting at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Now he considers wiping it away, but it's too late. His bandmates are squeezed into the cab of the truck beside him, and there's no way of getting rid of the eyeliner without them noticing. And their noticing would mean endless ridicule. The pitch of the engine deepens, and he glances down at the tachometer, the needle dipping towards 400 RPMs. He puts slight pressure on the clutch, and the needle slowly comes back to 700. A horn honks, and he glances up at the green light. Eric, squeezed in the middle seat, says, "Fuck you. You know they can't hear you, right?" Ben says. Leaning over Ben, Eric puts his head out the passenger window and shouts again as the truck picks up speed. Laughing, he lurches back into the cab, nearly knocking the truck out of gear with his knee. As the road curves towards the ferry docks, the guitar cases slide across the truck's bed and thump against the tailgate. Logan winces. He can barely afford gas. Damage to his Fender Stratocaster would be a significant setback. He makes a mental note to tie down the gear before they leave the party. A half mile later, Ben points to the right and Logan turns onto the side street. The house is a dark brown split level partway up the block. Cars line the narrow roadway. A half dozen people linger near a skate ramp slanting at a shallow angle at the end of the drive. Logan eases onto the gravel shoulder and cuts the engine. There's the rattling clack of plastic wheels on the pavement as a lone skateboarder kicks past. Ben drops the tailgate and starts handing down equipment. So nice to have a man around, Eric says. They leave Ben sitting on the tailgate with the drum kit and carry their gear inside. They don't know who lives here, but it doesn't matter. No one cares who owns the house. To care would mean that they were thinking about status and popularity. It would mean admitting that they cared about such things. The only thing worth caring about, Logan thinks, is the music. Even before they reach the top of the stairs, there's a tangle of noise. There's the telltale synthesizer and swish of Shinobi's Revenge and the clack of controller buttons in the living room. Music crackles through the stereo, but Logan can't name the band, and he knows not to ask. Three girls from school sit at a table in the kitchen, laughing as one of them rolls a joint. He recognizes the girls, but he can't remember their names. One of them, he's pretty sure, is in his 5th period math class. She smirks at him and he feels conspicuous. You know where we're supposed to play? Logan asks. The girl points through the window at a cluster of people on the 2nd-story deck. The nucleus is a tall biker with a gray beard. As Eric heads outside, Logan sits on his amp, picking at the calluses on his palms. There's no injunction against talking to people, but Logan is navigating between the unspoken rules of punk and the rules that he's crafting for himself. So for now, he tries to look apathetic. For the past week, he's been imagining tonight's show. The image is careworn, as if it's been tucked in the back pocket of jeans worn too many times. With the reimagining of the scene, he changes minor details. The snarl on his face, the shirt he's wearing, the proximity to the crowd. He carves Kelly's face into the crowd, pulling from memories of conversations and making out on her lavender bedspread. In the imagined future show, she had kissed him, spit at him, turned her back on him. Eric taps him on the shoulder and Logan looks up. What did he say? Logan asks. We're supposed to set up in the basement. What did he say about playing? I told him we're with the band. And like he said, then fucking play. They make their way down the narrow staircase, trying not to bang their amps into people or walls. The basement has all the hallmarks of 1970s DIY kitsch with wood paneling, burnt orange couches, and an aggregate hearth. Logan begins looking for outlets as Eric heads out to help Ben with the drum kit. As he tunes his guitar, Logan runs over the set list again. It's simple enough. None of their songs is longer than 2 minutes, and they'll start with the mediocre cover of the Ramones' I Want to Be Sedated and end with the last-minute edition of the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen. Ben and Eric return, and people look in through the sliding door to see the band. October air with the stink of cigarettes and decaying leaves pushes into the basement. And for a moment, Logan wishes that he hadn't cut the sleeves off of his Black Flag t-shirt, wishes that he'd brought his safety pin laced hoodie or that he could afford a leather jacket. But it doesn't matter. These kids are not real punks. Most of them wouldn't recognize the Sex Pistols if their lives depended on it. Never mind bands like the Germs, the Buzzcocks, or the Cramps. These are suburban kids who hold their beer cans like props. Through the sliding door, Logan spots Kelly in the backyard. At nearly 6 feet, she'd been the first girl he dated that was almost as tall as him. It had been a novelty to kiss a girl without having to bend down, but now it's been 11 days since she broke up with him so that she could date that stoner, Darren. And if Darren's here, you'd better avoid Logan. But stoners are known for being non-confrontational. He plugs in his guitar and holds it inches from the amp, building an ear-splitting squall of feedback. As he steps away from the amp, Ben counts him into I Want to Be Sedated. There's almost no break between songs. This is the way they've decided it should be. No breaks between songs, no encore, no overwrought antics. The half dozen kids that the music has drawn to the basement are more interested in slamming into each other than listening. The first pause in the set is before their last song, and this is only by chance. Ben, having broken a stick at the ending of their best song, Pickle Dick, is reaching down for a replacement. In the semi-silence of the room, Logan looks for Kelly. She hates the Sex Pistols, but this song is unequivocally for her. He's thought about looking her dead in the eyes as he sings, "She ain't no human being," but for one reason or a million others, she isn't here. A few people are singing along with the lines "no future" by the end of the song, and there's a crash of cymbals as Logan shouts a final "fuck you." He unplugs his guitar and turns off the amp. Suddenly, it feels like they haven't played at all. He carries the gear back out to the truck and sits on the tailgate smoking. Ben nestles his drum kit against the cab and lashes it down. Logan thinks briefly about tying down his guitar, but he lets it go. Eric rambles on as usual about someone he'd been talking to at the party. The quintessential extrovert, they know that he'll return to the party and find beer and pass out at the house or maybe find his way home later. "I'm going to drop off the gear," Logan says. "Ben, I'm with you." "Catch you fucknuts later," Eric says, pounding on the side of the truck and walking back to the house. Logan beats his good luck tattoo on the steering wheel, pushes the clutch twice, and cranks the engine over. He makes a 3-point turn with Black Flag at full volume, a skateboarder grabbing the side of the truck and following it down the road. They drop the gear at Ben's house and take Highway 99 south to Beth's Cafe. The booths are full of high school kids. Although it's still early on a Friday night, they have nowhere else to go. Most of the people here are like them, too young to go to bars or bigger shows. The familiar soundtrack of eggs frying on the flat top and chefs shouting insults at each other, at patrons, at staff. The sound of the eclectic jukebox playing everything from Johnny Cash to The Cure to X. Logan no longer bothers to put his money into the jukebox. It's the easiest way to be judged by everyone in attendance. Besides, he's low on cash. Sitting at the long counter, an ashtray between them, Ben doodles logos and skeletons and half-naked women. On a blank piece of paper, Logan writes out band names with dull purple crayon. In one column are the names of that the band has had over the past year, including tonight's name, Junkie Jedi. In the second column are the names of bands he likes. A band without a solid name, he thinks, is like a soul without a body. It just wanders relentlessly. A name is more than a brand, it's an identity. And if they're going to be taken seriously, they need the right name. "These are throwaway names," Logan says. "What about Pickle Dick? Nobody names a band after a song." Logan drops Ben off at his house in time for the drummer to make his midnight curfew. He follows the surface roads back out towards the Boeing freeway. He likes driving past the massive factory at night. The enormous garage doors that slide open to belch out commercial jets are closed. Bright lights create a halo that is visible for miles, and for a moment, it seems like no one else exists. He shifts into fourth, then fifth. Reaching over, he turns off the radio, listening to the familiar sounds of the truck and hoping to hear the perfect band name. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Michael, I wish you could hear all the, how I burst out laughing. I know the reactions would have helped a lot. I have spit all over my camera, but I love the band without a name is a soul without a body, and the unspoken rules of punk and the rules we make for ourselves. I mean, the basement and the dialogue and the time and place it's all so transporting. And I don't know if other people know about this or if I can spoil it, but Michael also writes lyrics for this piece, this longer piece he's working on, and they're incredible. You read them at one of our like gatherings, and it was great. So thank you so much, Michael.